I'm not saying abuse your children, but I am saying there's got to be some type of awareness to keep the kids in line.
Right.
You know what I mean? So letting the children just do what they please, that's not parenthood.
Nope.
And then when you take the male figure out the picture, you see what I'm saying? And no disrespect to women and mothers. No disrespect. However, when you take that male figure out the picture, guess what? You weaken the value of that boy that's coming up. You feel me? When you take the man out of the picture, what does that boy have to look at? And when I hear mothers say, well, wait a minute, you got that twisted. I raised my son. Look at my son, how he is. Look at him. He's success. I give you that. But when you talk about the figures and you want to throw numbers into the game, the numbers are not as high as it should be if it was a man, a strong black male or male. I'll just say, sorry, not just strong black male, but male in that household to keep things under control. You see what I'm saying? Now, there got to be, believe it or not, like I told my son when he was little, I said, look, don't fear me, respect me. You respect me, we'll be okay. Once the respect go out the door, we're going to have a problem. Well, back then when I was coming through, it was fear. You fear me. I don't worry about your respect. You fear me. So you got us back then, we walk in that straight line. You might as well call everybody Johnny Cash because all we did was walk the line. Out of what? Fear, not respect. So now we're working on respect because respect goes a long ways as opposed to fear. You see what I'm saying? So now we live in a time zone. Well, the laws have changed to accommodate children. You see what I'm saying? Children have the right of way more so than what they need to have. You think about when you see some of the things that go on, how the disrespect is just thrown out the window. I'm looking at a video where a kid just beating up an 89-year-old woman for no reason at all, just because he wanted to do something. You know, so you think about all this. You know, kid walk into church and kill 20 people. You think about all that. You see what I'm saying? So where did all that come from?
Right.
How did all that start? Well, let's think about the laws and how they changed the laws to accommodate kids. Somewhere, look, I'm in favor for changing the laws to accommodate the kids to a certain point. Because when you give, it's just like, for instance, you give your son back in the days, you give him $1. What do you want to do with that dollar? He want to go to the store and spend that dollar. Why? Because you gave it to him. But if that kid had to go work for that dollar, what's the difference now? He's going to be careful how he spend that dollar. See the difference?
Yep.
So when you give a kid the red carpet with no rules and regulation to go to it, to go along with that red carpet, well, now you see what's going on. And brother, most of the kids that I deal with, they are behind the wall, meaning that they're incarcerated. And when I get into their heads, when I get into their minds, the only thing I can ask them is like, what are you doing here? Because you're so intelligent. You're so smart. What really happened to get you in this predicament?
It's true. Yeah, that is.
The ball is dropped, bro.
Bro, it's dropped.
And we ain't talking about, when I say the ball is dropped, we ain't talking about the ball that dropped on New Year's Eve in Manhattan.
That's true. It's true. It's definitely been dropped, man, harshly. And I see when I talk to a lot of the older generation, like, guys that's your age and a little bit older, man, they have a lot of regret, like how they parented their children. And they say, man, some of them, they so depressed now because the way they raised their children, because they thought, it wasn't going to never catch up to them, because now, they got grandkids they can't see. They got children that they don't have relationships with no more. Like they kids just isolated themselves. Say, you know what? I don't even want to, disrespect you. I said my point. You don't hear me. I just remove myself from that situation.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of times with our moms too. Like you said, when our moms be just raising us crazy because they think, you removing the dad, you want to have all the authority, you want to have all the power, but you don't want none of the responsibility, the consequences and stuff like that. That my body, my choice thing, and now the outcomes are here and due. Now you trying to call the dads, or you trying to say with the men where they at, trying to mentor, and a lot of men have pulled back because it's like a lack of appreciation. You feel like you're entitled, and then you're not investing back into the men that are actually pouring into the youth, and you're not investing into your own child well-being because you're just maintaining your kids. Like it's 80% for the black boys. There's 80% chance that they gonna fail in life.
They're gonna fail. Yeah.
Just being under your leadership because it's a prisoner pipeline.
Third grade, starting
at third grade, you got all those women at the school. Then you got a woman at the house. Then you nagging, you tripping, you working 12 hours a day just to put food on the table. So there's no supervision in the streets. So the streets is raising them. They selling drugs. He doing this. They bring stuff. Your kids. This is where the bullies come from. There's a lot of bullies, especially in New York and New Jersey. There's a lot of bullies. And because they was bullying, what I learned too about that aspect of bullying is good because it make you tough, but it's bad because you don't have no outlet. Because a lot of these kids, they used to talk, from Jersey, they used to talk a lot of trash about not having Jordans and all that stuff on your feet, but they was hungry at the house. They bullying kids for their lunch money because they really didn't have it. Their mom was either strung on drugs, dad not in the house. There was abusive marriage. There was something going on, some underlying condition the kids didn't have no outlet with. And the crazy thing about it is, man, I'm like, these chicks won't say, look, I'm messing up, go with your daddy. They won't do, because a lot of times pride before the fall, like you say, pride. And unfortunately, I know a lot of the sisters don't want to hear this, but and it's just gonna hit hard. You can't do nothing with your boys past 10. Because they're transitioning to preteens. Hormones are changing, attitudes, they're getting bigger, emotions.
And they seeing what's going on around them outside of the home, where it seems like other kids are having more fun, more money, more girls, etc., where they're suffering. So quite naturally, if there's not a man figure in the home, well, they're going to take it upon themselves. Well, Mom, you don't understand, Mom. I love you, Mom, but I got to go do what I got to do, Mom. So what moms do? Okay, baby. Now they say, that I talk to kids and I like, I know some of y'all just be running up in there and be telling your mother, sit down. They're like, no, Mr. D, my mom don't play that, boy. No, she'll put hands on you. Okay, fine. But just think about if there was a man figure around. And I'm not talking about your uncle. I'm not talking about homeboy on the block. I'm talking about the man that produced you. The man that laid down to help you come to this earth 9 months later. You see what I'm saying? So now we live in a society, and not saying that it wasn't happening back then, but just think, when you look at somebody, what's your boy named, the actor, that was married to Mariah Carey?
Nick Cannon?
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's running around saying, I'm going to impregnate as many women as I can because I want 11 children. Well, why you can't get 11 from one woman? Why you got to go impregnate? So guess what? That's a trend. People are watching that. So now you come down here to the streets. What these boys think is the right thing to do. Go out and impregnate. You see what I'm saying? So if you're watching movies, you're listening to the music. All that makes a difference in our kids' lives. You see what I'm saying? So, yes, I'm going to go back to it's the baby boomers' fault. I'm putting it, and I'm a baby boomer. I'm a baby boomer, and I agree with you saying. A lot of people in my age bracket, they are denouncing our kids, but don't understand for some reason that they're part of the reason that our kids are like they are. Kid, grandkid, great-grandkid, Because guess what? It's just going straight down the line. Now you think about, you got a mother that's 30-something years old, child 15, instead of that mother being that 30-year-old mother that she's supposed to be, now she wants to compete with the children. What's up with that? I'm standing at a store one night, a couple of years ago. I had just finished speaking at a facility, so I drop off and go to the store, get me a Coke. There was a soda or something and some chips. And I'm just standing there. I got my old school pose on with the foot up, my foot up against the wall, and I'm just chilling. I got two brothers coming by me. Both of them sagging, one twirling. But wait a minute. These two brothers, they're not kids. They're not in their 20s or 30s. These brothers as old as me. All this is gone, bro. All this is gone. They gray just like me. You see what I'm saying? They coming through, walking through, they sagging. And I'm like, and I didn't say nothing, but I'm just looking at them. I'm like, okay, I see now. What's really going on in the hood? And when I tell people, when I talk to them, like I talk to my kids, when I get on my elevation mode, I let them know, no, I'm not stomping on your parade because guess what? I'm that same child, I'm that same Junebug that used to run them streets of the South Bronx. I'm that same one. So I want you to understand where I'm coming from. So you won't say, oh, this old dude, he don't know what. I do know what I'm talking about. Because I got an ear to the ground. And I'm gonna keep that ear to the ground so I can know, what's going on, what type of changes need to be done. And thankfully, I mean, I've held court with Governor Lawson Childs when he was governor here. I've held court with the mayor here, city council, Baltimore's mayor, etc., etc. I've been to juvenile justice meetings where I've held court, explaining. You see what I'm saying? I don't know everything, but I'm just saying, from my point of view and what I see, what I experience, the only thing changed is the time. The only thing changed is the time. What do I mean? From the first child, okay, maybe that next generation after Adam and Eve, to the child that just was born a second ago. How did that first child and this child that was born a second ago, what do they have in common? Human. Okay, all right, so what else? The Durin's effect, all right? You got Maslow's law, right? You got culture shock. You got what's the other one? You got culture shock. You got forgive me, I'm having a blank, but I'm just saying. Yep. Each generation is going through the same thing. What's different? Technology. Take all this technology away, put us somewhere on out in the desert somewhere. What do we have to do? What will we have? What will be required of us at that time? What's the S word? Survival. Survival of the fittest. Because we all got to eat. Yep. We all need shelter. You feel me? We need clothes. All right. We need finances. All right. So guess what? We're all in the same boat, and it's been like that for centuries. So in order to survive, that kid is going to put on survival measures to live, to survive. And whatever it takes, sell drugs, rob, steal, whatever it takes. It's survival of the fittest, my brother. But it's how you survive. And the moral of the story is, when you talk about Popo, they got a job to do. When I go to the prisons, I don't know if you remember, because you probably was a kid then, Muhammad and Melville, the snipers. Yep. All right? Believe it or not, I had 15 minutes with Melville at Supermax in Baltimore. At that time, he was like 15, 16 years old. You see what I'm saying? It all came down to survival. Muhammad took this kid and told this kid, I will be your guardian angel. That's a child, man. Melville fell under Muhammad. Muhammad was executed. But will Melville see the light of day again? No. His freedom is gone because of the fact that his life was tampered with as a boy by what? A criminal element who posed as his what? Guardian angel, his dad? Those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. What?
True.
Terrence, I don't know anything. I don't know. I'm just an old, like they say, when you get gray hair, you're just an old foodie. What do you know? Put him out the pasture.
Nah, you're not one of those. You're not a fool that got old. You know what I mean? You're not a fool that got old because we have people that are wise and then we have people that fool. Because some people think because they get old, they not foolish. It's just the age. It's their mentality. Wisdom doesn't have an age. Maturity doesn't have an age. It's just how you conduct yourself and carry yourself and how you see things from multiple perspectives and point of views. And I'm glad that you see things from these different perspectives from Gen X and millennials and things like that. Because I'm a millennial and going down, and and the mistakes that your peers have made, and a lot of us have brought these issues and concerns to it. But some received, some didn't. A lot of the men received, some of the men didn't. But it's across the board with our moms that they just don't receive the critique and accountability, and it goes in a downward spiral because a lot of the men that you remove not only the foundation of the child, you also remove the covering, the protection, all of that, the nourisher, sustainer, maintainer. You remove all of that because men have 4 P's that they give to their family is protection, provision, uh, procreation, and problem solving. So if you don't have that as far as your boys and your girls, you ain't gonna have that because like a lot of
So it becomes a missing element.
it's a missing element.
As they grow, it becomes a missing element. And not only that, when they become that parent, you feel me?
It just repeats itself.
It repeats itself, and that child gets minor of what they should get. Instead of getting a greater, now they're getting minor. And like you said, each generation, it gets less and less and less and less and less because of that element that has been taken out of the picture. So you go back to like the 60s, the 70s, when it was said like this, is that, you remove that man out your home and we'll give you the food stamps that you request. So here it is, again, another incident. I'm getting on the bus on Howard Street in Baltimore. I got 2 girls in front of me. One is pregnant, one got a baby. So the one that has the baby is saying, baby, don't worry about it. You can have 10 babies. As long as you don't have a man around, they gonna pay you. The government gonna take care of you. Don't worry about it. You don't need a man. Let the government take care of you. So how do you spend a whole life being taken care of by the government? Food stamps, paper, to EBT. Your whole life. You live in the projects. The whole life. You see what I'm saying? The moral of the story is you don't want anything out of life. All you want is that money that comes every month. How do you live a life like that?
The crazy thing, it's not even money, it's just generational poverty. They sell you the okie doke because you can't really pass nothing down because that's a mom and a child is not a complete family. So you can't pass any resources, wealth. You you gonna probably have debt when you pass. You ain't gonna have nothing. There's no legacy in that. It's just pure chaos and hopelessness. And what happens is you tore your institutions down by accepting that. Your institutions are, let me give you the 4 institutions that most people don't understand that's not in our inner cities. So the 4 institutions is hospital, school, bank, grocery store. None of that exists in our communities collectively. You see corner stores,
churches,
a whole bunch of churches on each corner, liquor stores, gun store, pawn shop, check cashing, and graveyards and mortuaries. That's all you really see and hair stores. Most importantly, Korean hair stores and fast food. Yes. And when you look at other communities, you don't see that because they have economic basis. They have the man, woman, child, grocery store, business. You need business because business is what supports everything else. So when you have these base your economic floor, like Dr. Claude Anderson says, you start off with that economic floor, then you can start moving up to the floors. You start talking about politics and all that stuff. Because be honest with you, it was one time that there was a tea conversation. I was listening to one of the ladies. I can't remember who was talking about it, but they was talking about in East Tampa. One of the ladies was talking about the schools was underfunded. You know that's been a problem. The public schools. There's another story that goes behind. The black schools that's in the inner city, but that's a whole other topic. But long story short, they had old textbooks. They couldn't get the resources. I'm just listening. I ain't engaged. I just let the people talk about what they need to talk about, as far as with the politicians and stuff like that. But I'm sitting there saying to myself, I'm like, we still having this conversation because I remember hearing that conversation in New Jersey when I was 12 and 13 and 14 years old. I remember at the city council meetings, and we still having this conversation almost 30 years later.
No, bro. We still having this conversation 60 years later. Because of the fact that I recall, a matter of fact, I was looking at a documentary on YouTube about how the black kids were treated back in the 50s and 60s when you talk about education and schools and whatnot, and just talking about the hand-me-down books. Well, guess what, bro? I can actually tell you about those hand-me-down books that I had. How about the books with no covers on them? Or how about let me hold the phone.
Mm-hmm.
How about math books that we got secondhand? Everything was secondhand that we got.
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but that's true. That's bad if it go back. You talking? I go back to 60 years ago, but that's true. But I will say this. Then I'll ask you about Fredrick Douglass, and then we can close out. But I will say this, ladies, you can't do nothing without your man. Can't raise kids by yourself. You go ahead and take care of it. I got it. You can't raise kids by yourself. You can't do this thing by yourself. It's meant for us to have complete family units, okay? So when you don't have your complete family units, what you do is you cripple the next generation that's coming up. You cripple them. You cripple the next few generations. You stop your wealth. You stop your housing. You stop all of that. You stop everything. Like you stop all your businesses, your legacy, your family name. You stop all of that when you don't have a complete family structure. And that's one of the most important things about fathers. That's why it says specifically in the Bible, return the children to their fathers, or the land is going to be in chaos. That's why our communities are in constant chaos. That's exactly why our communities are in constant chaos. So I'm going to let him come back in here in a minute, and he back. Now I was just telling the people, what I'm
was the mic on? Did I have a hot mic going on?
Nah. I think it. Nope, it turned off.
Oh,
it turned off.
Okay, all right.
So as I unplugged the mics or whatever. The mics needed to charge up. For some reason, I thought the mics were charged up, but they ain't charged up.
Oh, okay. So as you were.
Now I was saying that when you have a community, you got to return the children to their fathers, boy or girl, because it's just by biblical standards. The children belong to the dad. The dad got the foundation, the identity, the genetic codes, and that's where they come from.
Right.
And that's what they say. The seeds are. You are who your father is, your genetics, who your father
genes
is.
and what have you.
And then when you don't do that, it's just you have these outcomes that you see in all of Black America. It's funny when it's crazy when the men are raising the kids by themselves. The kids are just they're totally different. It's like it's equivalent, like a single dad is equivalent to a 2-parent household, but you can't tell the differences. And so there's some slight differences, but the men, especially with the boys, they're gonna be on the right track because he gonna outsource with the women and stuff. He'll ask questions. He able to bring in marriage and stuff like that. Also with the girls, he can still teach her how to be a woman in unisex. He loves to be an example of what a strong, positive man is in her life.
And what you should expect out of that man. Because he's the example.
Yep. So because the men we just do a better job. Because number one, because we're the foundation, but we're also the disciplinary parent. Because and the disciplinary is much needed, and kids accept the discipline. But when you remove discipline, they become chaotic. They become things like you don't know how.
And that's where we at now.
And you just don't even with the girls, you just don't know how to deal with that type of attitude and disposition, and the mama emotions can't handle that. Somebody in the house got to be level-headed.
Somebody got to be level-headed. So, right. And keep the peace. And keep the knowledge that need to be enhanced in that neighborhood. And when I say neighborhood, I'm talking within the home, that domain. You see what I'm saying? Yesterday, believe it or not, I was looking at another video where I got these girls, teenage girls. They battling with each other. You see what I'm saying? They fighting. It's like 6 and 7 of them. And it ain't like they out at a park somewhere. They in front of the house. You know what I mean? Right. And the parent is doing, what's really going on? You know what I mean? So, these are some of the areas that we have to look at going forth. And I believe that we can once again bring everything back in the fold. But instead of having these distant conversations, we need to have these conversations that are intimate within the community. And not only that, to have parents who are willing to go that extra mile despite what the law says, despite what they may be afraid of because of their children, So it's on us to stand up. And if we're going to be parents, then we need to stand up and be parents. And I will say, since we were talking about the baby boomers, which I am a baby boomer, we need to come to amends within ourselves to recognize that, yes, we are the ones who caused the situation by saying that, hey, I'm not going to do my kids the way that I was done. It has nothing to do with abusing your kids, but it has something to do with discipline. I think discipline is different than abusing.
Yep.
I think firmness is different than abusing. I think strict is different than abusing a child. So we don't have to go to the measures of abusing, but in order to keep that child in some type of formation and know how to walk that line, there's some type of law that has to be put down in the home before the law is put down outside. And you already know, when the law is put down outside, it's not going to be a Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope. It's going to be for real. It's going to be for real, brother. Because we already know that those police out there, they're not playing. And they're not playing, especially with people that look like this. So we have to be the forefront to solve the problem and to nip the problem in the bud. And, and I hope and I pray that that season will once again emerge. I hope that season will emerge. And I hope it will emerge. And I hope before, because, look, my clock is ticking. And I hope before I leave that I can see some of that.
Respect.
And I don't want to categorize all. So we have to understand, we can't put all our children in that same bag. Because you got kids, we were on a trip, and we were coming through Daytona, Bethune-Cookman. There were some mighty fine young men and mighty fine young ladies walking that campus. So you think about Bethune, FAMU, and not just HBCUs, but you think about the young brothers and the young sisters that are walking that fine line to make a change. as opposed to what we talked about earlier, the YNs. The YNs that concentrate on destruction. But let's concentrate on those kids, that are building that construction, not destruction, not deconstruction, but construction. And I want to think there's more of our young people that are on that construction road or boulevard, as opposed to the small minority of kids that are on that destructive alley.
I agree.
Let's keep it 100.
They are.
So we can't fault all our children for what we see going on. We can't fault all our generations. Yes, baby boomers are at fault, but we can't fault all our kids on the downline. So let's give praise to our kids that are on that constructive boulevard, because there's a lot of them out there.
Yep.
Amen?
Amen.
Amen. Let's agree.
Let's agree.
Boom! Shakalaka. That's right. So you said Fredrick Douglass. Where's Fredrick at? Fredrick!
That's you.
Where's Fredrick at? Where's Fredrick? I'm looking for him. There he is over there. There he is. There he is.
Let's see. Let's go to a couple pictures on here.
Yeah. Where that Fredrick at? Where's that Mr. Douglass at?
There he is right there.
There he is right there. And like you said, how can you merge two Fredrick Douglasses together? How can you do that? Who do that? How is that possible, my brother? Mr. Douglass himself, the 21st century Fredrick Douglass.
The boy on news.
So, what is it that we must disseminate about Mr. Douglass? What should the world know about Mr. Douglass?
Tell us about his character a little bit, and then we'll close out.
Well, one of the main questions that I always get, now keep in mind, I started doing Mr. Douglass back in 2009. And here we are 17 years later, and the question always comes. I can see it coming 25 miles away. I can see the question coming. What is that question? What started you to doing Mr. Douglass? Did you take a course? How did you do it? And it's just simple as ABC. Standing in front of the mirror, brushing my teeth one morning. And I hear Mr. Douglass. I hear Fredrick Douglass 3 times. And that prompted me to go and begin what is now known as the reincarnated Fredrick Douglass. And I will say this, it is definitely a joy to my heart to bring Mr. Douglass into the century. Young King, I had no idea when I donned Mr. Douglass that it would turn out to be at what it's turned out to be. It's almost like James Evans of Good Time. We all know James Evans, John Amos as James Evans on Good Times. Yep. No matter what movie we saw him in, we always related him back to Good Times. Mm-hmm. So now I've gotten pigeon-toed that everywhere I go, people that don't even know me, brother, I could be in a suit, I could be in jeans, I could be in whatever. I can have my hair braided. People will come up to me and say, you know who you look like? And and I'm saying in my mind, then I'll say, who? Fredrick Douglass. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of Fredrick? And then when I tell them that, well, I performed Fredrick Douglass around the country. What? I said, yeah. So performing Fredrick Douglass, to be honest with you, he has become my role model. He has become my mentor. Believe it or not, he's matured me in so many facets of life. Studying him has given me a greater outlook on life. a great outlook on myself as a black man, how I should carry myself, and just the parallels of his life and my life. I will not sit here and confess that I was a slave. No, I wasn't a slave. But when you look at my early years of foster care,
Okay.
you can pattern that as almost being a slave. And Fredrick escaped slavery at 21. Well, my life began to change at 21. So you look at everything that has transpired since my 21st year, how it has transpired. Maybe not to the magnitude of how Mr. Douglass' life transpired after that September the 3rd, 18, I'm having a blank, you know. But he was 21 when he escaped. You see what I'm saying? Or should I say 1838? There you go. But just taking on his life and being able to learn every aspect of his life, and what he did, the milestones that he did back in the day, the offices that he held, the books that he's written, the traveling that he did, the posing for pictures that he did, being in conjunction with um, being the first black sheriff of Washington D.C., uh, taking on the Freeman's Bank as his director, working with the president uh, in Haiti, and the list goes on. Him creating his own black newspaper, the North Star, uh, traveling abroad and having the Richardson sisters to pay for his freedom. And then not only that, later on in life, being able to confront his slave master, and question his slave master as to why, you all did what you did to us as a people, and just to move on, his 5 children, his 21 grandchildren. You see what I'm saying? All that makes an impact, of what his life was about and the impact that he has made. 200, well, I mean, you look at it, if he was living today, he would be 208 years old, But before it was all said and done in 1895, at the age of 77, and not only that, becoming the first black man to enter into the White House, the first black man that has a friendship with several presidents, white presidents. Here's this black man who was a slave. You think about all that this man has done, and not just done, but done as the first, and no education to boot. He wore his PhD on his back. The stripes that were on his back was his PhD, brother. So you think about somebody of my caliber. Who am I to take on the image of this man? So when I look in the mirror and I look at me, especially with my hair blown out, and I'm like, Lord, is this for real? There's no kid, but I will say this, bro. With all your audience looking and listening, I will say this, that in this computer age we live in, that's the only reason I tell the truth, that no, I'm no kin to Fredrick Douglass. But if it wasn't for the computer age, yes, that's my great, 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 great grandfather. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, but it's an honor, though. It's an honor to portray Mr. Douglass and keep Mr. Douglass alive through myself. I'm honored, brother, and I don't take that for granted. You know what I mean? It's not a joke to me. It is the moral of life. You see what I'm saying? The old story, the old saying on the block is, "It's serious as a heart attack." That's how serious it is, my brother. And then just to have the opportunity to be in the arena that I've been in, the stages that I've been on, the churches throughout the country that I performed in, the universities that I performed in, the schools that I performed in. I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful. I have no regrets. So when I hear testimonies and they say something of this nature, who, me, Lord? Are you talking to me, Lord? And not knowing they're pushing their blessings away. So when God came to me to perform Fredrick Douglass, Soul Santa, Soul to Soul, motivational speaker, I didn't think twice. I jumped in the water, brother. There was no question when God said, get out the boat. There was no question. I got out the boat. And it's paid off in so many dividends that it's just unexplainable, brother, at this point. It's just been a blessing. And to be able to stand before young brothers like you and brothers younger than you, generation, like you said, millennials, X, I can't remember all of them, but just the different levels of generations that I've had the honor and the blessing to stand before and to teach. You know what I mean? That's miraculous. You know what I mean? So me, an abused child, have an opportunity to do all this. It's emotional, brother. And, I just promised God that, I would never take it for granted. And I don't take it for granted. That's my case, brother, and I'm sticking to it.
Gotcha.
I don't care what the judge says. Because I've already done the time, brother.
Gotcha. Good, man. I appreciate you telling us, man. We definitely got to do a part 2. I know our live got cut off the first half.
Yes.
We're gonna do another part 2. We're gonna continue the conversation. But
I'm open.
In closing remarks, say always be around positive male figures in your life, whether they're younger or older. Always listen to storytelling. I like this live because it's more so storytelling. It wasn't so much of it was an interview, but it wasn't that much of an interview. It was more so, the format was more so storytelling, and maybe this will resonate with some people, and it spark something in them. That's the goal, for everybody, on this podcast, so it can resonate them, inspire others, and to reach people that they don't know where they're going. Hopefully this will touch them. So tell the people how to find you.
Well, if I could say this before I tell them that, when you talk about resonating, when you talk about inspiring, when you talk about elevating oneself and one mind, look, we're mortals. We're human. We only have a certain amount of time here on earth, and I agree with you tenfold when you said get around people who are constructive, people that are going places in life, and people that are trying to build something in life, people who have the mindset set on go, accomplish, achieve, people who look at the moon, if you will, and know that if they can't reach the moon, they can always land among the stars. Have the mentality that when opportunity knocks on your door, to know to open that door, and take risks. Take a risk, because basically everything I've done it was a risk. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had that knack. I had that go power. I had that desire. I had that want. I had that accomplishing a feat attitude, in my head. You know what I mean? Like Les Brown said, you got to be hungry. And we're not talking about physical food, but we're talking about hungry for success. You see what I'm saying? Like my drill sergeant said when I was getting off that cattle truck, when he threw me on the ground and made me do those push-ups and told me to stand up. When I stood up, he got in my face and he said the maximum range of an excuse is 0.00 meters. Don't live your life on an excuse. If you want an excuse, have an excuse of how you can become successful. And nowadays, there's no excuse to fail. There's no excuse to fail or be a failure because we all fail. But when you fail, know not to add on to that fail URE, which comes out to be failure. So we all fall short. But the biggest thing and the biggest joy about falling short is when you trip, you can always get back up again, get back in the race. Frank Sinatra said, I roll myself up in a big ball and I'm getting back in the race. You know, Jesse Jackson said, I am somebody. Martin said, I have a dream. You see what I'm saying? Malcolm said, by any means necessary. Keep going. Don't stop. You see what I'm saying? Build up on your dream. And if people can't see where you're going, they don't see your dream, those are not the people that you need to be around. Because those are the people that's intending to destroy your quest. And now you're just like them standing on the sideline. You're standing on the sideline looking at the parade that one day you're going to be in. What parade is that? The parade leading straight to the cemetery. So take life and enjoy your life. Get the best out of your life every day. You see what I'm saying? For young people that's coming up, you know, latch on to a career, latch on to a passion, latch on to a love that's going to take you to your success boulevard. Colleges and universities, and please don't take this out of context, it's not for everybody. But everybody got a skill. Everybody got a skill. Everybody got a skill. A skill can be sweeping the floor. That can turn out to be your business. People pay people to come in and clean their offices. Simple like that. So you can be the best, office cleaner in the world. I met a man one time, young brother, probably about your age. He's riding around in a Maybach. Brother, how do you make your money? Well, believe it or not, my mother taught me how to clean floors when I was a child. She used to beat my behind, make me clean them floors. Well, guess what? Once I graduated from high school, I started my business. No, it didn't grow overnight, but I kept working at it, to the point where I got 30 people that work for me. That's all NBA, brother. NBA. Not the National Basketball Association. Natural born abilities. That's what that's called. Natural born abilities. And you know, back in the days, they said that don't burn your bridges. Well, how about NFL? Navigate favor in your lifetime. And know how to rake people. I didn't say rape. I say rake. R-A-K-E. What am I talking about? Random act of kindness with enthusiasm. Learn how to come out of attitude and elevate yourself to altitude so that minor things don't knock you out your game because you're on altitude. Everybody got problems. I got problems. I just went through something. I did. I just went through something. And people were amazed at the altitude that I was on as it wasn't about, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to kill or I'm going to cuss. No, that's stress. But it's how you handle situations to get through the situation because you see past it. You got to go through it, but you see the sun on the other side. So the moral of the story is that live your life in contention of knowing that whatever you go through, you can come through. Know that whatever dream that is stored within you, that if you stay focused and if you continue to believe with God's help, your dream will come to fruition. You will be the star maker. And there will be other people that coming behind you that's going to walk on the path that you created. It's amazing. People follow people. I didn't make it here by myself. You didn't make it here by yourself. You followed somebody to get here. You sat under somebody to learn the ropes. I did as well. But once we learn the ropes, what do? We break off and we start to create our own path. It's like the limbs on a tree, brother. You got the trunk. The trunk grows up and then you start doing what? branching out. Every limb has a what? A four-lay of leaves that go in separate directions. And that's what we do. So, with that said, how can you get in touch with DLD? How could you have me come out and do a session, motivational session with your organization, your group, your church, your youth group, your college, university? Simple. Website www.dldenterprises.org, Facebook, TikTok, all social medias, and better yet, you can just Google me, Donald L. Dowdrige Jr. And some can even go on and just type in Fredrick Douglass. I'll show up somewhere. Phone number 813-394-5875. I'm available to inspire, to entice, and to take you on a trip that is known as Altitude of Greatness. Check me out. Love y'all.
All right, we're going to come back next week with another phenomenal guest. I'm going to end this live. He had the closing remarks. I have no closing remarks after that. Just know, once you discover how unique you are, you begin to change the world around you.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. All right,
Yo, it's all the way live.
We already live.
It's all the way